friends, I'm glad you're here. As I mentioned in a recent video, I had done a little Labor Day sale haul on the Catrice website. I got like 40% off my entire order. There were just a few odds and ends that I was still really wanting to try from this line, and I got them. And I thought I could put them on today and just kind of talk you through a look with those new things. I really love Catrice. I love how outside of maybe like a few special sort of collaborative products in their line, things are kept under the $10 mark, but yet the quality can just be mind-blowing. So I feel like every time I do an order, I just run into some new gems, some new things that I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited about that. So as things stand now, I do have my foundation on. I'm wearing my Catrice Aqua Splash Grip Hydrating Primer and then the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage in Sand Beige. So this always has really good staying power for me, even though it says mattifying. It's very thin, it's lightweight, but it is super long wear and has beautiful coverage. So I think pairing this with a primer that's giving either a little hydration or a little glow, they tend to be a really good pairing. So that's what's all over my skin. And I have a sip of coffee. It's been a weekend, friends. We had so much going on Saturday. While the girls and I went to Walmart, Bub and Uga and Papa went golfing. Then we had flag football. Then we had a block party at the end of the street because there's a couple new people who moved into our neighborhood. So a block party was organized and that was fun. And then we went over to the fair, which was at the opposite end of the street, and rode rides. It's a very active time for our little part of the community. And I've also just had a lot of emotional weight, and this probably won't sound like a real big deal. And hopefully it truly isn't a big deal, but I've just got to be real with you. I just got to tell you like where my head's at right now. So Rhett's been in kindergarten. Okay, I call him Uga sometimes. He's like 1 month in on kindergarten, and you know, every day he's eager to be dropped off. He's happy when I pick him up. He'll tell me things that he's done. He'll be playing and randomly singing a little song. He's bringing home some good stuff in his folder that he's worked on, and I'm just thinking all is hunky-dory. And then he brings home a progress report, and as it turns out, he's not listening very well. He's being kind of a shell of his usual self, I guess I would say. I don't know if it's pure and total overwhelm. He's not talking. He's kind of seeming to be just taking it all in, but not just jumping into things. And I'm not trying to make a bigger deal about this than it is, but it does hurt my soul a little bit because I know who that child is to me. I know who that child is in every situation where I observe him, and he's just vibrant and talkative and happy and eager and fun. And anyone I've talked to about this is like, you know, it's early, it's just a period of adjustment. And I know he's never been in full day school, and to a kindergartner, a 5-year-old, you know, the change in his life probably feels massive, and at times maybe he is just too scared to jump in with full comfort like he lives the rest of his life. But honestly, that info just kind of like took me, and I feel like academically, like we spent all summer working on like academic things. He knows all his letters, all his sounds, the kindergarten content, you know, he knows, but it's like, is he gonna not display things because he's just feeling so, I don't know, overwhelmed? And I've, of course, talked to my dad, who's a longtime educator and principal, and I talked to him about my urge to be like a fixer, you know, like, oh, that's wrong, let me fix it. That's wrong, let me fix it. And he kind of stressed to me, you know, time might just be the thing that he needs, and you can't get overly wrapped up in what the progress report says. You know, there's going to be little changes that maybe can't be written down on paper every day. But all we know is, you know, each passing day is going to be more familiar, and what we also do know is that he's happy to be there. The way he is around the house really hasn't changed much. That's why I just thought like, oh, everything's going swell, but he's just been, I think, real slow to warm up to the environment. There's also just the simple fact that this is not probably what he loves most. He's an outdoorsy kid. He's an active kid. He doesn't even have to be that familiar with the kids he's with in order to want to play with them and stuff. I don't think that's really a huge one for him, like it might have been for, let's say, Biddy. But anyway, guys, that's just been like the little thing. I'm not saying it's world's most important thing or anything, but it's just in my existence right now. That's the back of my mind thing that I'm thinking about, and just hoping that today, I'm shooting this on Monday, I'm hoping that today, even in just some small way, there's some little switch that clicks that makes him feel a little bit more like his normal self at school. But you know, the school year is young, he's young, I don't know, a lot can change. And something I do notice about him at his age is that he's constantly changing. I don't see it as much in like Biddy or Nookie. I know they're changing and developing too, but at his age, I do see the changes a lot. So everything is temporary. I've said that before on my channel, but this is what we got so far with the foundation. I've literally not put anything on my face, and I've just talked you guys out for a while. I'm sorry. Under eye brightener. This was something new that I got. So it's a liquid under eye brightener. The shade is light rose. And it should be kind of like brightening, and I would think a little maybe coverage enhancing for the concealer to come. It's not my favorite packaging design, y'all. I don't love when we got the puffy tip. There is a locking mechanism. Okay, so you're gonna unlock it and then squeeze up, and you see some product emerge onto this large puffy tip. But it's really unclear like how much. And then when you let go, half the time it sucks the product right back down in. So I'm immediately thinking, and I used this yesterday, I don't think this is my favorite format for such a thing. For some reason, I get along way better with the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Brightener, and that's got a puffy tip type deal too, but it's just a different way. So I've put that around my eyes a little bit. Maybe I need a little more. And then I'm gonna blend it in and top with just my regular Catrice like True Skin Concealer. Also, I woke up this morning, and within probably 30 seconds of getting up, I'm up walking around and I sneeze so hard. I've not yet gone to the bathroom and I about peed my pants. So good times. I'm dabbing this in. Blends in really easily. It's very thin, but I still think that just the simpler, more effective way to go about it is one of the little cream pots, you know, either Catrice's, which seems thinner, maybe not as heavy duty coverage, but still some coverage, and then e.l.f.'s, the putty color correcting eye brightener. I love that. That's my #1 in the pinky tone corrective brightening game. But as you can see, this did deliver brightness. It gave a little extra moisture here. It's lightweight. I just really don't like that applicator because it makes it very hard to know what's going on your skin at any given time. Okay, so we all dabbed in. And even though this isn't a new to me Catrice product, I'm gonna stay on here so you can see like exactly what happens. So it's the True Skin High Coverage Concealer. This has hyaluronic acid, it's waterproof, it's part of that True Skin range where you've got that beautiful foundation that I would say is the more hydrating friend compared to this one. And I wear this in cool cashmere. So I'm gonna pop some of this on in my usual concealer zones, and I'm gonna pretty much use my normal amount. I sweat so much this weekend, like with all the outdoor stuff, because we did the fair on Friday night too. That was a little 2-night thing. Typically the fair coincides with the fun run, but they were separated by a week this time. I was sweating my buns off at that, and then the next day, like flag football noon game right out in the sun, sweating, and then block party, not so bad. Okay, it's evening-ish time, but yet still started sweating. And I feel like I have some little like surface level breakouts. That was the point of the sweat story, is that I think, you know, you're doing all these things and you got a full face of makeup on. That's when I'll notice, oh, I've got some little breakouts more than I realized, not in a massive way, but just surface stuff. I think from the sweat and then just having that makeup on. Okay, roughly dabbed it in with that Morphe concealer brush, and then I'm gonna take my foundation brush and do some larger dabs. And everything's looking really good. I already have the under eye brightener setting powder from Catrice in light rose, so I'm going to use that. At first I remember thinking, did this like overly dry me out? I wasn't huge on it, but I've given it more shots, more chances to work, and I actually think I kind of like it. It's a very small little container, and it might make you think, are they trying to be like a Laura Mercier secret brightening powder? But as I feel it, and I've got my brightening powder right here, the brightening powder is still way more fine and more even transparent compared to this, if that makes sense. Like more colorless on the skin. This shows a little more color and feels more like my other regular setting powders. And yeah, I've gotten along pretty well with it. I wouldn't say I'd place it over the Wet n Wild Soft Pink or the L'Oreal Infallible Blurfection, but it's good, it's decent, and I use it all over my T-zone. The reason why I mentioned those other brands is because they also are light pinky tones. So we're dabbing it in all over. I'll run around and brush away some excess. But you can kind of see these are from the same line. They both have that sort of peachy packaging and say under eye brightener, and there's different tones that you can get. Morphe Under Eye Bullet Brush. And on the school topic, it's like, how do you then go throughout a day and not just be worried about him and stuff like that? And I would say my answer to that is going to be just anytime it pops into my head, I'm just going to say a little prayer and continue to trust and continue to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. And it makes sense to me that one might not become comfortable with every part of kindergarten immediately, and that's okay. My next thing that I'm pulling into this look is something new, and it's the Soft Glam Filter Powder. I just kind of wanted a pressed Catrice powder to be able to work into Catrice full faces. And this one, you're gonna have to see it up close and in focus because it's got a little dabbling of different shades in here. Can you see like the bright peach, lilac, green? It just says complexion perfecting face powder. And it does have kind of a nice texture. I feel like I'm gonna try this on the under eye eventually. Also, as far as I know, Catrice hasn't been doing a lot with brushes, but they did have this brush set, and it's just 5 brushes, but you've got a couple for face and several for eyes. This one down the side here is like a duo brow brush type of thing. You've got a small, sort of flat brush, but sort of just like compact brush, you might say, a really large blending brush, this large angled brush, and kind of a domed egg-shaped brush. So I'm going to use one of those for this powder. I was playing with these brushes yesterday, and I gotta say, I wasn't really glued into any one of them as, oh my gosh, these are great. I'm not saying they can't work, but these big ones, like there's a lot of fluff in them, a ton of movement to the bristles. It's not bad, it's workable. And then on the eyes, like I was using those brushes yesterday, hey Bisky, and like the compact one did okay. The blender was way too big for my eye space and too light and fluffy to really effectively blend something out. So I'm not huge on the brushes, but I'm just taking this powder lightly all over. And it does kind of seem like I have a filter on my skin, you know, and it knocked down any tacky texture that might be remaining there. So that's good for me. I think I'm going to really get into that powder actually. I'm trying to keep this video focused on the new products because I know that's maybe what's most intriguing to you guys, but I did want to show that whole complexion routine. But I did go ahead and use this Catrice Melted Sun Cream Bronzer in Beach Babe. It's really nice. And then a new thing I got, Blush and Charm Multi-Sticks. You might recall I got one of these before in this deeper shade called Ruby Darling, and it can be like a multi-stick, a lip and cheek. This one says Blush Lighter, and I thought, how blushy will she be? The first time I opened this, the stick absolutely popped out and fell on the floor, but fortunately did not break. But the shade is called Sparkle Lover. Why did I buy the shade called Sparkle Lover? I do not like sparkle really in my cheek products, but apparently it looked good enough online for me to go for it. So I'm applying it kind of generously because if they call it a blush lighter, maybe to get a lot of blushy color, I need a little more. But I'm gonna dab that in with my Sephora 56 and hope it just blends in with ease. It's blending in pretty well. It's definitely giving me blush, you know. The highlighting effect isn't so heavy in it that it's over the top glowy, number one, or number two, taking over the amount of blush that you're actually seeing. I'd call it like a slightly glowy blush. So we're getting that all blended in, making sure it's all blended. I think that's cute. I kind of like the way it's catching the light. What would this be like on the lips because it is a multi-stick? You're gonna get some peachy pinkness there. The glow is not overly frosty, like I said, so that's what that's looking like. And then in terms of what's left that's new to me, I got several palettes. One of them is a little combo palette here. This one looked so good, and I'm not sure how I overlooked it the first couple times I ordered Catrice, but it's called the Cozy Glow Eye and Cheek Palette, and it has its own little mirror in there, and it's a highlighter, blush, and 4 eyeshadows. Now, I wore this whole thing yesterday, so I think I'll just pop up a picture of that. It looked really good. These are mattes here, and these are shimmers. This one ends up looking really bright, and this one quite a pigmented color there, really. But I really like the blush and highlight, and I thought I might pull those in to today's look too, just so you can see. The blush is matte. It's called Rosewood. Just gonna dab in, and you can see there's some depth to it, okay? I think it's really pretty. And as far as the eyeshadow intensity, you know, there is some depth out of that brown, but it's not like a super deep and dark brown. So your look is going to be somewhat soft if you stay confined to this palette, but I still really liked it. There we are, just getting all blended in with that blush shade. I am a fan. Here's one thing I might do. I've got this angled brush as well, and I kind of feel like maybe the blush came down a little low over here. So this is, for the most part, bare. And I'm wondering if I just kind of help blend my edge with that. I think I might prefer the density of the angled brush to the egg-shaped brush. But knowing what I know now, I don't think I would have purchased this brush set. There's no real major essentials for me in here. And then let's show a little bit of the highlight as well. So that's called Soul Glow. Going into that with my Real Techniques setting brush. Getting a little on here. Just that initial application, and then when I want to blend it in and not let my highlight exceed the amount that I just gently touched on there, I just run my brush over my hand, and then I can really get to buffing, you know what I mean? So there's our complexion. I'm going to finish brows and then we'll talk about the eyes. Okay, I just did my brows. I used my Benefit stuff, and then I'm going to put on my Milani eyeshadow primer here real quick. Never skip the eye primer. And then I got, I guess it would be the remaining two of the $6 eye palettes that I hadn't yet tried, because I kind of aim to do some sort of review and ranking of them all. So as it stands now, I have the nude one, the dark chocolate one, and the hot maca one. So basically your soft neutral nudes, your deeper browns, and then your deeper warm palette. And then these were the ones I just got. I got the Electric Rose and the Cozy Earth. Let's take a closer look at these. But what I love about these palettes across the board, formula-wise, is that they're super consistent. You don't run into a shade, even a shimmery shade, and it turns out to be something way more sheer than you expected, or give you a bunch of trouble on blending. I have not run into that on any of these palettes, so I know the quality is going to be good. It's more of a shade selection question, and probably what held me back on this one a little bit was it looked like it had just so much lightness, but I'm open to trying it. You know, I want to see if it surprises me and what sort of a look that turns out on me. So that's Electric Rose. Very much not electric, if you know what I mean, but whatevs. And then this is the Cozy Earth. Kind of surprised I didn't grab for this one sooner, but we've got, you know, shimmers over here on this side and this one, and then these are your mattes over here. I think I might do this one today. I'm interested in this green that's a mid-tone, and I think I want to really lean into the green for this look. So the very first thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to use my Catrice brushes because I'm not big on them, you know. I am going to start with this shade that seems like a very good set it up crease color. So dipping in with my Profusion crease brush. Already got our primer on, and we're gonna go back and forth in the crease with that kind of dusty peach looking shade. Okay, getting just a little something. I didn't want it to be real dark. I just wanted somewhat of a starting point ahead of the green layering that I plan to do. And you can just keep blending that up and up. Let the shade lessen and lighten as it gets toward the brow. We do have a creamy color right here in the corner that's matte that I may as well go ahead and bop that in here. My camera is really trying to focus on the light behind me. Okay, now I'm going to go into this shade, Olive, medium tone. I'm going to add that into my crease, and I'm not expecting a bold color punch here, but I'm probably going to put it in my outer corner too. And I don't think this is necessarily an either or kind of palette with tone, like either you use the greens or you don't. I think you could create some harmonious looks where maybe that kind of rusty color on the bottom row works in with, you know, some golds and maybe a little green, but I'm just curious about the greens. I see a little deepening of the crease, but I don't really see a lot of green tone right now. Then I'm going to take my Morphe M303 into the same shade and just see what happens when this shade gets patted on. Now I'm seeing that olive. Now it's looking a bit more, you know, true to color, what you saw in the pan. Yeah, okay. It doesn't take a lot. These are pretty soft shades. And remember, if your shadow is feeling kind of out of control, make sure you haven't loaded up your brush too much, because there's only so much surface area for it to stick to. So if you've loaded way beyond what's just going to cling, that's when you may start to have some unintended fallout there. Not that any fallout is intended. That's what we're looking like right now. I think because I did approach the crease with some more of that, I can do a little blending with a bare crease brush. Soft. I really want to see what this kind of like shimmery sage green. Ooh, I think that's going to be super pretty. Sorry, my nail polish is majorly chipping. This is the M302, so it's a little smaller than the first brush I was using there to pat on. Picking up some of that shimmer. And this is what I mean by like shimmers. You don't have to wonder what kind of oddball texture they're putting in here. Like, it's just a good solid shimmer, and that's really pretty. Ooh, this is green for the people who just want to dip their toe in. I would like to do a future look where I pair in more of that shade alongside the greens. But today the greens are the star, and it's very soft. There's almost a little hint of a golden shimmer coming out of this shade, which you can't really detect in the pan, but I'm seeing it in application here. And I'm liking it. Okay, so soft, very, very soft green eye. One thing we could try is incorporating a little bit of this matte right down here with the small pointed brush. Not too much, but like just seeing how that plays with the look if we go outer corner with it, because that is your deepest color in here, right? So that's what happens when that enters the chat, and you just sort of softly blur it out and up. You get a little lift. I'll soften it and blend that some more, but I like that. But it's really just a range of nice everyday friendly types of palettes, you know? And we'll work in the rose one on a different day. But ooh, I like this. And then I'm taking my crease brush, just blend over the edge, keep it soft. Love. Okay. Don't get it if you're thinking I need major green color. Get it if you appreciate a soft, just like a suggestion of green on your eyes, you know? I'm gonna finish off the eye look, and I do have a new lip thing. Alrighty friends, I finished off the eyes very simply. I did use my lace shadow stick that I have in a dark green shade called Twilight Emerald, and I've got that across my upper lash line. I use my Catrice mascara. This is the Pure False Lash Beyond Black mascara. That's on my upper lashes, and then I just used a bit of e.l.f. lash extender down on my lowers. So end look I feel is really nice and everyday friendly and like softly fall to me, you know? Here's the last thing I got. I got another one of these plumping lip liners. So in total, I now have 3. The one I really loved before is called Cheers to Life, and that's kind of your mauve-y shade. The other one that I have, and I got the first time I got this, is called Understated Chic, and it's very nude. It really kind of like matches in with my own lip color quite a bit, so I don't reach for that one as much. It just doesn't make as much of an impact, but I chose to get this one called Go All Out, and I'm loving this shade. I've had this on for the last couple days, you'll see. So these go on really well. What's special about these is that they're not really plumping. They don't give me any sting, although plumping's in the name. But what they do is they wear so long. They adhere to your lips really well. So let me just fill in a minute. It reminds me of a precise lip liner version of Maybelline's Live on the Edge. Maybe a hint more brownish. But the shade is perfection for fall. To get a glide this good and then a staying power that turns out to be as good as it is, it's just awesome. And they have quite a few shades. If I got off camera and came back and said I just put on Maybelline's Live on the Edge, you might believe me. But no, this liner called Go All Out, I love it. It will be so good mixing in with some lighter shades, different colors, wearing it as a base to any sort of gloss you want to put on top, you know. I might just take a little Catrice tinted lip oil that I have on hand here. This is in the shade Keep It Juicy. This actually like does transform your lips a little bit pinky, but on top of all this, it's going to be just kind of shiny. Love the texture of that. And yeah, that is my look today, friends. And as far as the new products go, I would say the things that I am most enthusiastic about, I'm really glad I got this Soft Glam filter powder because it's just a nice little thing to throw all over your face. I'm going to try it as under eye setting powder. I like the texture. It does add like a little brightness, but there's no shimmer in it at all. So I'm enjoying that. Really love the lip liner, obviously. And I would say the palettes too. This Cozy Glow one is just perfect for a quick, easy look, but then obviously I haven't used the rose yet, but I'm feeling very good about the Cozy Earth palette here. I wasn't huge on the brushes, as I said. The under eye brightener in this format, not big on that. The blush was okay. The Blushing Charm multi-stick shade is Sparkle Lover. This was fine, really. I don't think I'll find that to be as satisfyingly multitasking as just kind of the pure color shade that I have in that stuff. I'm not wild about that particular shade for my lips as well, but it did very nicely as blush, I will say. And then anything else Catrice that you saw me talk about was just stuff that I've already had on hand and already been using for a while. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for not only watching the makeup content, but listening to my rambles and not judging me. Like I say, we listen and we don't judge. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. I love you. Bye. Oh, and I wanted to say, be on the lookout for short content because all last week I did like a short every day. day and also post it on Instagram and TikTok, depending on what your preferred short form platform is. But I'm going to try to keep up with that. So thanks again, guys. Love you.